150 days of war are behind us. Russia's war with Ukraine, the largest military conflict in Europe since World War II, is just as it was 8 years ago. A struggle for the world we will live in for decades to come. Will the West, pressured by domestic problems, accept a world in which authoritarian regimes conquer smaller states? Or will it stand firm against the local thug? In practice, this dilemma was one of the main reasons why the invasion happened in the first place. The war in Chechnya, the invasion of Georgia, the annexation of Crimea, and the creation of puppet republics. Russia was forgiven all of these by the West. What's more, it rewarded the Kremlin with more hydrocarbon supply deals, thus making itself dependent on them, by locating its own businesses in Russia, or by strengthening the Russian army, since the reaction to Moscow's criminal actions was so soft. Should we be surprised that the full-scale war eventually ensued? This time the reaction is different, and the effects on the Russian economy are fundamental. Nevertheless, the Russians are playing all in, having learned that each time, sooner or later, the West forgave Moscow and returned to talks. Will the same be the case now? The Russians are aiming to annihilate Ukrainian subjectivity. Missile attacks on public places such as hospitals, schools and universities serve exactly this purpose. It's a hedge for the Kremlin in the case of goals of total war and full annexation of Ukraine don't pan out. By destroying the infrastructural fabric of the country, Russia is preemptively destroying any potential future competition in the case that some kind of truce is reached. It will be years before a devastated Ukraine, even in peacetime, can manage to reach an adequate level of development. The scheme is quite simple. Russia attacks a civilian target inside Ukraine. People are killed. And the Kremlin concludes that there was a Ukrainian command center, weapons or ammunition on the site. And so it goes on and on. Recently, there were missile attacks on Vinnytsia, Mykolaiv, Dnipro, Kharkiv or Odessa. And this is compounded by a massive hole caused by the mass exodus of foreign investment. More than 1,000 foreign companies that suspended or terminated their operations in Russia had made up about 40% of the country's GDP, or $600 billion. In addition, these companies employed about 1 million people in Russia. The investment value of these companies accounts for the vast majority of total foreign investment in Russia since the collapse of the Soviet Union. And thus, in 3 months, Putin managed to destroy capital that had been built up for more than 30 years. Of course, this does not mean that Russia's GDP will shrink by 40% overnight. Some entities have been sold to Russians, some are in the process of leaving the market, and some are on hold. But the loss of know-how, specialists, or the inflows of new capital means that the most devastating effects will be felt within a few years.